Welcome back to the LoCo Experience podcast. My guest today is Scott Kissel, and Scott is the executive director of the Sky Corral Ranch. And I think I want one of those jackets like that rocks the Sky Corral colors.
We can make that happen for you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And so, I don't know, what percentage of people in Larimer County do you think know about the reimagined Sky Corral Ranch?
Oh, man, it's got to be low. It's kind of the best
20%
kept
or
secret.
something.
Yeah, I was going to say 20% or less.
30%?
Yep.
So for the 80%ers, can you give a quick kind of overview, a drone flyover of the operation at Sky Corral?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, thank you. 105 acres, private venue for about 50 people that can either stay overnight and enjoy all things mountain, or they can do corporate retreats and strategic planning. It's just got a little bit of everything. Rock climbing, fishing, hiking, canoe, kayak, stand-up paddleboard.
Bears, turkeys,
Oh,
deers.
yeah, absolutely. Moose. Yeah, exactly. Hawks and eagles. It's just a great opportunity to pause in the mountains with people that you enjoy, and it's just you, just private.
I dig it. And this is basically up the top of Old Flowers Road, kind of.
That's correct.
For
Stove
those from
Prairie
around there,
area.
Stove
Yep.
Prairie.
Over Risk Canyon. Yep. Up Stove Prairie, up Old Flowers Road, just past Stove Prairie Elementary School, 3 miles.
Where does it make sense to kind of start with talking about Sky Corral? Do you want us to talk about like some of the events and teams you've had there in recent years? It came back into service when? And when did you join the team?
Well, the best place, probably, Kurt, to start is just the leadership legacy. Couldn't be sitting here today without, the 1950s, the Grubbs family, or who turned it into an old dude ranch, 1957, became operational.
Okay.
Then a long history of leaders, from that point. But the point where it really came into a newfound, business model was in 2008 with Bill and Avis Ward.
Okay.
Great couple and
Bill,
family.
from Front Range Internet.
No,
Different.
different. He is
Oh,
with
oil
Ward.
guy.
Yeah, Ward Petroleum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so amazing family, Enid, Oklahoma, and they bought it in 2008 and really kind of put it on the map for, family camps and just exciting getaways for people.
I see, okay.
And then they had it until 2015, and then they donated it. This is an amazing story of generosity to the Community Foundation. Community Foundation is a great foundation in town that took it on as an asset and poured $1 million into it for capital improvements, fire suppression system, kind of helped us dredge out the lake, set up another $1 million endowment with another foundation. And so
like
that was
for maintenance kind of thing.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly. Yeah, just after the High Park fire of 2012.
So this might sound weird, but I've had Kristen on from the Community Foundation, and I know that they do investing in funds and donor-directed things and stuff. This isn't the kind of investment that's really supposed to make a bunch of money. It's really preserving an asset for the community to use. Is that the right way to look at this?
That is correct, yeah. And so, Kristen,
if they ever make any money on it, they'll be happy. No,
it is probably
they
one of the
probably could make.
They could,
yeah.
But there was just a unique opportunity for them to take us on as an asset, and we would not be in business today without the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado. That team has been amazing over the years.
So, like both the capital support and just even probably just awareness, like having a little, we'll call it a ranchette, right? Like it's too small to be a working ranch. You
Correct.
couldn't keep cattle or things like that to speak of. So it has to be touristy kind of oriented.
Yes.
But finding a voice in that marketplace is hard.
Very hard, and they were the experts in it. So put a board of directors together and helped with all the capital, campaign improvements, and phenomenal partnership. And then in 2018, they turned it back over to Sky Corral Ranch, so it's now fully in our hands as a 501c3.
Oh, I see. So it almost had a incubation period. And
Correct.
then retransplanted the operating entity. And then is that where you came on?
I came on a little bit later, almost 4 years ago, May of 2021. So during those COVID years, if you will, it just kind of was just limping
there
by.
wasn't really a great reason to promote it too much and advertise.
Get a bunch of people together in the mountains in tight quarters.
Right.
So, it was after
So
that.
as they're seeing kind of the end of this period, they're like, okay, I guess it's time to get serious about this.
Yes. Yeah. So Bill Ward and another guy on the board, Andy Peterson, got together with me and said, hey, let's talk about this opportunity. Probably too early to get together to talk about an executive director, but we'd like to do that.
Okay.
And then the board agreed to give it a go, and so here I am, almost 4 years later.
What were you doing? Like, what were you? We'll jump in the time machine and get kind of more of your story.
Yeah.
But what were you doing, like, going into that time?
Yeah, at that time, I was the senior executive pastor at Timberline Church here in Fort Collins, Colorado. So 14 years on staff at that church. It's been our home church since 30 years ago. and just was looking for a little bit of a change and wasn't sure what that meant.
Seems like a pay cut.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, the Sky Corral board has been very good, very generous, very favorable, for me. So grateful for that and the partnerships that we have.
Yeah. But it's still probably a pretty big pay cut from Timberline. I'm just saying. I know what those pastors make.
Yeah.
So
Great church.
you were like seeing an opportunity, and for sure, no question about it. But it's a big, complicated organization.
For sure.
That's a 1,000-person church,
Wow.
more than that.
Well, 10,000 call at home, 4,500. 4,500 on a weekend. All the campuses.
Okay. Yeah, so
for sure.
Huge.
100 staff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
that's no plaything job there. They want you to actually work hard. Here, you just got to screw around a lot, and kind of play rancher a little bit.
Yes.
Glad hand people when they come up for conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're getting a little too personal now, Kurt.
Sorry, I'm just seeing the benefit of this job change too.
Yeah, definitely a big change going from that big of an organization to me being the sole, employee of Sky Corral Ranch, and then we hire a bunch of contractors, which are phenomenal.
And your team are awesome.
Thank you.
Like the bang for buck on your catered food, nobody can touch it.
Yeah.
Like if anybody ever has a conference up there or something and they order food to be brought up from Fort Collins, and with apologies to all the amazing Fort Collins caterers,
Understood.
They're foolish. Don't do it. You'll regret it because you're going to pay twice as much and it won't be half as good probably.
Yeah. Karen and Penny definitely spoil our group. So glad you had a good experience with
Well,
our
they're just so
catering.
dedicated to service too. It's not just the quality of the food, but it's also just both it's diversity, it's attentiveness. When the lettuce is running low in the salad bar, they're like right out there before you get a chance to walk back and ask them.
Yep. Pretty unique ladies. Blend of hospitality and catering and service. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what kind of groups do you host mostly? Like, it's kind of set up do you want to describe the grounds just a little bit in terms of like for me, it was like, okay, doesn't really work for like a couple's kind of outing or whatever, because there's a lot of like bunk rooms and stuff like that.
Yes. Mostly a bunk style model. Overnight, but during the day we can host, corporate retreats. But we mostly have large groups that don't mind multiple people in a room sharing bunks, keeps the costs down, and then they can just enjoy, their whole group and their whole facility.
When you fit a bunch of people into a small place.
Absolutely.
So it's like a big men's group thing, or maybe
Correct.
Like a skateboarders group. I remember was either coming in or leaving last year.
Yes, Camp Good Buddy, phenomenal organization, partner organization. They book 3.5 weeks of skateboarding camps every summer, pretty much the month of July.
What kind of skateboarding facilities do you have up there?
They actually built everything. They have
they
a
have
half
some?
pipe. Yeah, they have a nice
no
half
doubt.
pipe up the road
dang.
behind the lodge.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then over at the barn, they have some mini ramps. And then the sport court, which is between our two main buildings, they turn that into a full-on skate park, ramps and rails, and they set it up and then tear it down when they're done.
Wow.
It is pretty unique. But yes, skateboarding camps, men's retreats, women's retreats, environmental groups. We have a lot of student organizations, mostly because of another foundation. I have to give them a shout out, Enander Family Foundation. If it's faith-based and student-related, they get 50% off of whatever rate Sky Corral charges. So
is that right?
Heavy student groups, May through October,
Okay.
mostly when school's out.
Yeah.
It's pretty phenomenal.
That makes sense. And did you do mixed students too?
We
like
do.
You can do boys and girls, just
We
have
can.
boys rooms and girls rooms, kinda?
Correct. Yeah.
Because you got like bunk rooms for like 4 or 6 kind of
4,
thing.
6,
mostly.
or 8, and then we have a couple outlying cabins that people can stay there too with other bunks and
That's
Jack
where the
and Jill
camp
bathroom
counselors can
Correct.
be kind of thing.
when they're ready to take a break from the craziness.
Right. Well, it sounds like a perfect like youth camp if it's small size.
Yes, up to 50.
Could you build more and host bigger groups?
That's the hope. We're working on
Is
a
that right?
strategic planning session
Okay.
right now to kind of look at the next 3 to 5 years and what do we want to do. The dream would be to have a 100-bed bunkhouse on the hill and then turn the lodge back into a marriage retreat, corporate retreat,
interesting.
where it's a king or a queen bed, private, similar to a hotel, because right now we don't have that and we know we want to go that direction.
Oh yeah, that would actually probably work pretty good.
Really good. We're turning down a lot of groups that would love just to have some private, rooms for their group.
Yep. So getting ready to do a capital campaign, kind of? Is that how that works in your situation?
Just the very beginning stages of it with some great people on the board that are saying, let's talk about it. What do we want to raise the money for and how long will it take?
Well, and part of the benefit of your former position with Timberline is like who the deep pockets are over there.
We have a very generous community, Kurt, for sure. I'm very thankful for it. And the nonprofit community here in Larimer County is off the charts as well. We're grateful for all of it.
Can we talk about maybe some highlights? You spend a fair bit of time up there on the ranch, especially when you've got guests up there and stuff. You're usually there to greet them or to send them off at least and whatnot.
Yep.
But what are some of the highlights of the? Really, you've got, like I imagine that summer of 21 was pretty slow still. So you've got 2 seasons effectively really done now. And are you closed in the wintertime, or are you still rocking it up there? You can still, it's still, they got the fires going and whatnot.
Yeah, we're open year round. We just winterize a couple of our buildings, but the lodge and then the community room open year round. We can host, people all the time. But surprisingly, May through, August of 2021 wasn't terribly slow. It just people had to manage the COVID requirements and the masks and things, but it was
people were ready
slower.
To do some stuff.
They were, they were like up in the mountains. This is fine. Our group is we're not sharing space with another group, so it makes it really easy.
There's no tattletales right around here.
I know,
like that.
Nope. Yeah, so 22, 23, and 24 just saw tremendous growth as far as our groups that booked and then came back and then told other groups. So. Now we have a log jam in the summer, and we're just trying to figure out how to expand our shoulder seasons right now.
Yeah. One thing we're going to have to dip into, and maybe we'll even do it sooner than later, but managing a giant church like that with 4,000 people and stuff. I know how our church managed during COVID Nation, but we're going to have to talk a little bit about that too.
Sounds
so don't
good.
let me forget.
Definitely a conversation to have for
Fair
sure.
enough. Okay.
Yeah. But the highlights, you were just talking about the highlights.
Please.
And I have Karen Stedman. She is a contractor that we contract with. She lives a mile from the property. Phenomenal host. So she does a lot of the day-to-day stuff, hospitality, greeting groups, orientation. And then when I'm up there, my highlight is really just floating around, seeing people.
She kind of makes the thing work, and you make sure there's customers.
Correct. Yep. They say I'm the face.
The
I'm the face of Sky Corral down here in town, community networking, fundraising, all of that. And then Karen has boots on the ground to be able to make sure everything is running smoothly.
And whatever else.
Correct. Yeah. But my highlights are just seeing groups fulfilling their mission and their purpose for their stay up there.
Yeah.
And then how can we help them?
Okay. Well, thanks for hosting LoCo Think Tank. We've had 2 years in a row now, our next level summit up there for our largest kind of premium memberships at LoCo. And it's just so perfect size and shape, like having the separate meeting rooms for some of the training and workshopy things, and then go back to the lunchroom and grab lunch, and then go back over there. And,
Well, we're glad, and you guys provide
turkeys.
It's nothing like it, really isn't.
Yeah,
and you guys are great. You provide us with so many great pictures and videos. So hats off to you and your team, because we lean on you a lot for those.
Thank you. And have you gotten any other business from our members over the last couple of years yet? Or really?
Yes, a couple of them. I don't remember the name. Yeah,
or whatever.
A couple of day things for sure that attended your seminar and said, "Hey, we want to come back."
Part of the goal. That's why you gave us the hookup that first time.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to having you back again.
Well, we're looking for the hookup again.
Yeah. We can talk about that.
So, should we talk about the vision a little bit more for Sky Corral?
Sounds good.
So, if you do this 100-person bunkhouse, I imagine it would, again, kind of the 4, 6s, 8s, kind of different, smaller and larger rooms, maybe a couple of floors, I imagine, or multiple even.
Correct.
So you can segregate the girls from the boys even easier and stuff like that. Put tape on the doors, whatnot. And then, do you need other facilities? Maybe a bigger kitchen, probably, to serve all that and whatnot. Is that part of the vision?
It is. Yeah, the lower level of that bunkhouse would be more like a conference center. Would be what we would have on the bottom, where larger commercial kitchen, easier to serve, meeting space as well on that very bottom level of that.
Kind of designed for that purpose.
Correct.
Instead of make it work.
Correct. Yeah, a lot more
it.
space.
And then the upstairs would just be
all the lodging,
6 rooms or 8 rooms.
That's
or something
correct.
Like that.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And probably, I don't know how the county feels about it, but can you put I guess you don't have that many flat spots, but I was thinking pads for little cabinettes and stuff like that too.
Yeah, the board that has served at Sky Corral for a lot of years has always talked about either yurts, or tent pads or things like that. So we have a lot of different, spots.
Have you been up to Avalanche Ranch before?
No.
It's a hot springs up kind of not too far outside of Carbondale.
Okay.
And they've got a number of cabins and things, but they also have covered wagons.
Oh man.
With little propane heaters in the covered wagons, and so
you sleep in them?
Yeah. If the wagon is rocking, don't come a knocking. But yeah, they're just a little wagon, and you just park them at a flat spot, and they seem to do the trick for them. And it would be kind of on theme for your property too.
Yeah, we're looking for all kinds of creative ways to be able to have more people up there.
Saunas. You could use some saunas up there as well. A built-in sauna. I've got a future guest coming on the podcast here I can introduce you to, because that would be a fun thing for any kind of a retreat, right? Just have that opportunity, and don't have to have a gym membership or go to Norway.
Right. We have the cold plunge taken care of with our lake.
Perfect.
But
put
the sauna.
Put the sauna house down by the lake.
That's
Maybe a
right.
wood burner. You could put a wood burning sauna right down in there.
Double win.
I like it. Okay, capital campaign people, when you listen to this, make sure you don't forget the 12-person wood burning sauna down by the lake.
We do take donor designated funds.
Right. Perfect. So anything else that would really be required to serve that, what would then be 150-person size probably community?
Yeah, in that range, and then obviously need to work with the county and make sure we're going about it the right way.
How about sewer system and stuff?
We're all septic up there,
is.
so that would be another
that's
thing.
One of the limitations, probably,
yep.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, different septics for each of our facilities, and that would require its own with a leach
But you
field.
got the acres, you got the 100 acres, so
correct.
Yeah, makes sense. And septic works really good as long as you keep it living within its means.
That's right. Maintenance is key.
Yep. And overflow is bad.
Very bad. Nobody wants that.
Yeah. What else should people really know about the ranch? Do you want to talk about like how much it costs or anything like that, or is that more of a negotiable based on the size of your group? Or
yeah, no, it's flexible for sure. In our peak season, May to October, it typically ranges around 115 a person, and that covers everything on the property except our rock climbing wall and catering. And so
that's for staying there too.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
It covers pretty much using everything on the property.
Yep.
So 115 per person per night is a fantastic rate to enjoy all 105 acres and all the activities that it comes with. So that's primary. But yes, it depends on the season, size of group, how much they need.
Right, and if you're 5 people, we might not be able to give you the whole place.
Correct. Minimum typically is 20, but I just hate turning people away. Yeah. I'm just being honest. So,
fair enough.
So we can negotiate.
And if we're not booked and it's only 3 weeks out,
correct.
I'm easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we want people to use it.
Have you had any previous experience with kind of lodging type businesses or whatever that really isn't applicable? Maybe not necessarily.
Not on the lodging side. I grew up down by Alamosa, so between Alamosa and Pagosa Springs, family business, mom and pop, grocery store, sporting goods, hardware, all of that. The whole family worked there. So that's where business, really began, for me, and that's kind of the roots of that.
Okay.
But no, not on the lodging.
Skill set there. I mean,
nope, just do what mom and dad told you.
It's more an event, it's an event space ultimately, not
right. Karen handles the lodging part. So hospitality and lodging, my coworker would be the one that does that. So I'm more on the people side, the marketing side, all of that.
Got it.
Food industry, for sure. Did 6 years at Gibb's Bagels here in Fort Collins and had a great stretch with them. And so learned a lot about the food industry. And so business when I was a kid and then some food industry late in life.
Well, let's, if there isn't a lot more to say about the Sky Corral kind of projects ahead, I think we can zoom back and jump in the time machine to little Scotty.
Yeah, no, sounds great.
Sweeping the floor at the grocery store, hardware store, everything else store in Alamosa. It was probably the at least one of a few everything stores, if not the only.
Yep, we had 2 in town. Foothills Market was ours, and Rainbow Grocery was the other one.
Okay.
But yeah, we wanted to move out of California and be in a small town. So my dad said, let's go to South Fork, Colorado, population 300.
Oh, South Fork. Yes, that's different than Alamosa.
Yeah.
Did you live in South Fork?
We
did.
The
store was in Alamosa?
No, store. I say Alamosa, Kurt, because nobody knows where South Fork
but
is.
South Fork is nothing.
It's 300 people. We live there and work there.
It's a flat spot on the way down from Wolf Creek Pass, if I remember correctly.
That was my ski haven as a kid. Would ski 40 times a winter.
So were you born in California then?
Yeah, Thousand Oaks.
Okay.
Yep.
That's LA area, or what is Thousand
Orange
Oaks?
County.
Orange County,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Orange County before Orange County was Orange County kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you're just a little guy, though. You arrive in the mountains. What was the situation? Like, what were your parents doing? What were they escaping from?
Yeah, so my mom and dad, my dad worked for Litton Industries, was on the executive team there. And
kind
he
of
just
like corporate guy.
Yeah,
What's
corporate
Litton
guy.
do?
Couldn't tell you.
Some corporate stuff. Like depress the worker and maximize profits for their shareholders.
And then my mom was administrative assistant, and so they just were excited to just, start in a small town and raise our family. So I have an older sister and an older brother.
Okay.
And we all worked in the store together. Literally, Kurt, our house, I could walk there in 60 seconds. So house was right behind the store, and so it was just a really nice setup for our
How
family.
far is South Fork from Alamosa?
1 hour, give or take.
Okay.
Yeah, not
so
far.
Is South Fork kind of the only town with that kind of stuff?
So it goes Alamosa, Monte Vista, Del Norte,
yep.
and then South Fork.
Del Norte, okay.
So South Fork would be the small town before you go to Pagosa Springs or you go
Yeah.
up to Creede, Colorado.
Man, it just seems hard to have enough customers to make a store work.
Yeah.
And that's why you sold everything but the kitchen sink, I guess.
That's correct. Well, summers our town was 300 and we went to 3,000 in the summer. All the tourists, that people want to come to the mountains and enjoy all things there. That was when we capitalized on the tourism. Similar to Estes Park.
Too much. Yep.
Yeah, you capitalize when people are there. And then in the winter, Wolf Creek just being up the road.
Sure.
Massive ski, lots of people from out of state would come and enjoy skiing.
So it was really a seasonal business.
Very much so.
Dead as a doornail a lot of times during in October, the doorbell ain't hardly ringing.
That's right. And that's
just
why family business.
Buying groceries and
correct.
whatever.
And that's why you could adjust as a family. You just figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the motivating event, if I may, if your folks talked about it? Like, were they come from small towns and made it to Thousand Oaks, or like how the hell did they come to South Fork?
I know. They just were really looking for a serious pace of life change.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting now with working at Sky Corral because that's what it is up on the mountain. It's a
totally.
serious change of pace.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of feeling like it's a full circle moment for me. Like, oh my gosh, am I parents? Am I my parents now? Taking a change of pace, but that's just what they did. And they just found South Fork and said, that's the place for us. Found a business that was for sale, and they jumped on it.
Huh. What an interesting, I don't know, just to me, to be imagining somebody from like a rapidly developing hop in California back in those days, especially, it wasn't a miserable homelessville.
Right.
But to just like, how do you even learn about it? Like there wasn't the internet or nothing,
Yeah. Just people that he knew had been through that area and told him about it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. The funny story that everybody tells in my family is my brother graduated class of 1.
Ooh.
So when people talk about small town,
Damn.
they're just like, what? What do you mean he graduated class of 1? So that's a unique and interesting trait about our family.
I'm a class of 5.
Oh, man.
So
no
I've never
way.
met anybody that graduated with a smaller class than me, I don't think.
I was
don't
33, so I have not met anybody else
How did your
under
brother
10.
was a class of 1? You must have merged schools.
Yeah,
By the
I
time
went
you
to the
came-
consolidated
they're like,
school.
These classes of 1 are just not going to work out very good.
Right. Oh, my gosh. Where were you?
North Dakota.
Okay.
Central North Dakota, kind of, I don't know if you know where Jamestown is. It's halfway between Bismarck and Fargo.
I do.
And I'm from 12 miles north of there.
Okay.
A little village called Buchanan. Yeah.
Class of 5.
Yeah. I'd like to say I comprised the top 20th percentile of my high school class just to see how good people are at math.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that's great. Yeah, my brother's claim was it didn't matter what his GPA was. He'd be valedictorian anyway.
Right. What a fascinating. So talk to me about, like, how many kids were around? Were you kind of free range raised? And like, what was little Scott like when you were 7, 8, 10 years old, whatever?
Yep. Out on the bike, going to hang out with friends. Just got to be home by dark. Lots of basketball, lots of baseball.
Lighting fires with hairspray.
Oh my gosh.
Dumb stuff like that.
Oh, totally. Lighting farts through a PVC pipe, seeing who could launch them the farthest, and lots of fishing and rafting and, in the winter, snowmobiling, ice fishing. I mean, it was truly a mecca for a kid, to grow up in that area.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Unbelievable.
I'm sure. I've only been through a few times, honestly, but I know it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the springs were especially, like, I've barely been there in the spring because it's too late for skiing, but it's
Right.
But it has to be remarkable just to see the transformation from so much white to so much green.
Yes. It's phenomenal every year. And you get excited because then you can start being outside and enjoying all things being out.
You've been cooped up the whole time.
That's correct. Yeah, we always went to bed with a snow shovel inside of our door because a lot of times we'd open the door and you can't really get out.
Right.
And so we'd have to shovel from inside to get out.
So you kind of develop. And how many kids? Like, talk to me about your school that you went to.
Yep. So I went to one town over called Del Norte.
Yep.
Wanted to start playing sports. And when you're in a small school like my brother was, not
Just
really
doesn't work.
opportunities
Yep.
for sports. So I went to the consolidated school in Del Norte.
And that's like a town of 5,000 or something?
Man, I don't even know now. Yeah, probably. But then it was
not
just
that
a little
much.
bit bigger than
Right.
South Fork. But that's where most
They
of the
still
kids
can
in the
only
area.
field 9 kids for the basketball team, but yeah.
Yeah, well, and my wife always thinks this is a joke, but the football team at halftime part of the team would be in the band as well. Right. So they're out there on the field in their uniform playing in the band, and my wife's saying, "That's not possible." I'm like, "It is, because they don't have enough to do both."
Right. They don't have a saxophone if the tight end doesn't get out of the locker room. I was in my 7th grade year, so we actually merged with Pingree, so we were Pingree Buchanan High School that I graduated from, even though it was 2 towns that made 5 kids. But in my 6th grade year, me and my cousin, my dad's youngest brother, my uncle cousin, got called up from 6th grade to play on the B squad for the 7th through 9th grade team, basically the JV team. And then in 7th grade, we both got called up to play in the varsity because some kids got caught with minor in possession and they just didn't have a team. So in 7th grade, I was like the first man off the bench on the point guard position, playing on the varsity. So I would play the B squad for the first half, and then me and Jim would go into the locker room to get ready for the A squad game that was immediately following that, and then we would get our asses kicked. We went like 5-46 or something over 3 years that I played 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and then the coach was terrible, and the team was terrible, and I just got fed up and quit.
Oh man. Yeah, we need to get together after the podcast because we have some stories.
Terrible small school experiences.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But it toughens you up.
Oh, for sure.
For future years.
Correct.
So I'm guessing you're both a good athlete and a good student going through these years. You're a pretty big guy, right? Small town like that, you can kind of make hay.
Yeah, I was kind of a freak of nature as far as, size goes, as an athlete for sure. And then
were you like super big already, like 7th grade?
I was.
Like how big?
Oh, man. I mean, when I was in high school, I was 6'3", 6'4", freshman, of high school.
Right.
Yeah. When I was 12, I grew so fast I popped out of my hip joints.
Oh, dang.
And so, they had to bolt them closed, to take care of that. So
okay.
I joke I'd be 7 foot in the NBA if they didn't bolt my hips closed.
Well.
So, yes, loved athletics. Loved athletics, and I did my best at school and had a good time.
And what were your sports?
Basketball primarily,
okay.
And then baseball and track.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your position in baseball?
Pitcher and first base.
Nice.
Yeah. When you're tall and lanky.
Yeah.
That's the 2 spots they want to stick you.
Well, if you're scared of the grounders.
And I was, honestly.
I was
just throw me the ball.
Third base, shortstop, and pitcher, actually.
See?
My claim to fame, and you're about my age, I think, maybe?
I'm 53.
I'm 50.
Okay.
So in Little League, in 12th or 13-year-old kind of Little League, so my mom founded our 8th grade Little League team, or whatever that was, in our town. The Google speaker is talking to us. It's annoying. So it goes. We'll keep that in. My mom founded when I was 8 years old, she founded a Little League baseball team because she was a longtime fast pitch softball player. And she rounded up a team from this 50-person high school of the right age kids, just enough to make a team with like 2 people on the bench.
Oh, man.
But then eventually I played baseball, and then I went to town to play for 1 year before the farm demanded my attentions. But Darren Erstad was the most famous kid from our town at the time, and he was first draft pick by the Angels.
Wow.
Back in the day, and he won several Golden Gloves, and I struck him out twice in one game.
There you go. That's a big deal.
He hit 800 and like home runs half the time.
So how'd you strike him out? What was the plan?
Honestly, it was keep it outside, keep it low and outside, because he couldn't quite reach those because he was built like you already, like at 8th grade, and he just couldn't quite reach it. He knew he wanted to tap it out on me, but so I just had to make him want it.
There you go.
Basically that was the strategy.
That's awesome.
And I got to push him inside once in a while to be able to throw it.
Keep
outside.
him guessing.
Yeah, you can't just throw it outside. But that was the strikeout pitch.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. You don't know who Darren Erstad is?
I don't.
Oh, he's a super famous baseball player.
Okay.
He challenged Rod Carew's batting championship one year back in like 2007 or so. He was batting over 400 for part of the season.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And then he totally flaked out. Darren, sorry.
Yeah.
It was a weak play. I digress. Darren, if you want to come on my podcast sometime, you're like the most famous person from Jamestown, North Dakota. And so if anybody out there is listening and knows Darren and wants to introduce, then I'll put you up. I'll put you up in Fort Collins for the night.
There you go. Or up at Sky Corral Ranch. We
Up
could
at
do that
Sky Corral
too.
Ranch. Yeah. We'll give you a free night stay.
That's right.
So you're this stud football, not football?
I know. Parents wouldn't
No.
let me play. They didn't want me to get hurt.
Too violent.
Basketball. You got to keep your health for basketball.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because you were better at basketball or just...
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that is one of my biggest regrets, is to not have played football.
Really?
For sure.
Interesting.
I'd go back and do it
You
again.
got a body for it, for sure.
That's what they tell me.
I hated playing guys like you in basketball. I'm good if everybody's like 6 foot and skinny, but you put a 6'4" heavy guy in there and they just shut me down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
just
all
saying.
good.
Just
It's all
saying.
good.
It's so annoying.
I know. Well,
Oh, well.
my first basketball game memory, we lost 124-24.
Dude.
So to lose by 100 points, I should have just hung up my tennis shoes right then and there.
Dude, we in the county tournament against the Woodworth Pettibone Robinson Wolfpack, we lost 113-15.
Oh, see, come
They
on.
fell just short of beating us by 100 points.
Yeah,
Those
the
guys
century.
were such assholes.
Yeah, totally. That's just not right.
It isn't.
No.
It isn't, but it builds character.
Absolutely.
So, did you go off to college on a basketball scholarship? I'm gonna say
I did. Yes, I had the privilege of playing at Colorado Christian University for 4
cool.
years. I wanted
Yeah.
to stay in state.
You wanted to keep getting beat badly for a few more years.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm
And,
teasing.
and
So, was your dad a pastor or something, or were
No.
you raised in a Christian family though?
Yeah, so I was pretty much the first is going to church. It's a pretty unique story. Probably
Oh.
don't have time for today. But...
No, let's zoom in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it.
Like
Well,
you
small
started
town.
hanging out with your friends and stuff, and one
Well-
of the friends was like, "Hey, let's check out this church
Well,
thing."
Even more unique than that. So I
Okay.
told you that we have an influx of tourists in the summer.
Sure.
We had a lady named Edie Boatwright that would come in and do her grocery shopping every
Okay.
single Sunday in the
And
summer.
she's your wife now.
Nope.
kidding.
Nope. She
Sorry,
was a
get ahead of the
65-year-old woman.
Okay.
Doing her grocery shopping.
All right.
And so once she got to know us, she said, ask my mom and dad, hey, can I take your son to church? So from when I was 5 until I was 8, every Sunday in the summer, I would go to church.
Really?
Yep. So
And why did she ask them that?
she just was a diehard church person from Plainview, Texas. And
Yeah.
she's like, this young man probably needs to
When
go
the
to church.
Texans are thick, right? Like half of that extra 3,000 people was Texans.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that was my introduction
and you
to
just
church.
start going to Sunday school, and what church, if I may?
It was called Emmanuel Chapel in
So
South Fork.
pretty much an independent kind of little church kind of thing.
Pretty much everyone in town would either go there or to the Catholic Church. Those
Right,
were the two
right.
that really, dominated the population.
Fair enough.
And then that's where I just became a churchgoer and started a
And your-
relationship with Jesus.
Family followed you?
They did. We grew up Catholic, so
Okay, okay.
religion, structured churches
Sure.
in our world,
Yep,
for a
yep,
lot of years.
yep.
But then, as far as making a shift to Emmanuel Chapel, yeah,
Interesting.
My mom, my dad, brother and sister,
It-
pretty
could-
unique.
Can you describe how that went down? Kind of like you said, 5 to 8. It was you, and then it started trickling in, or talk to me. Were you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to make it about that, but this is a
Yeah.
really interesting story. I think.
I appreciate you asking, because it's all about relationships. So if it weren't
Yeah.
for Edie Boatwright making a difference in my life as a little
Yeah.
5-year-old, I wouldn't be where I am as far as
bless
a
her.
person of faith. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So no, I went to Vacation Bible School when I was 8, which is basically an everyday thing for, a church that would do things for the students.
Yep.
And I never remembered one thing they talked about, but I remember the stories about Jesus that Edie
Okay.
would tell me in the
Yep.
car going and coming back.
Ah.
And that's what stuck. And so that's really where it was. And then I would come home and tell my mom and dad about, you got to hear this story that Edie told me today. And then it just led to that. So
And
the
it's all parables
conversation,
mostly.
pretty much stories. That's what it's
Yeah.
full of.
Yeah. And then they were like,
Let's give it a
"Eh,
try.
let's try it." You
Absolutely.
know? They didn't. They kind of rejected Catholicism, I guess, because they weren't going to the Catholic Church in town, even though they came from that background.
They were. We were going to the Catholic
Oh.
Church when we first moved to town. And so
Okay.
then they just made a shift. They said, you know
Interesting.
what? Scott really
changing
loves this
teams.
church. Yeah, exactly. And so let's go where Edie and Scott go.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
funny.
we just never looked back. My mom became the Sunday school superintendent at the church.
Interesting.
Not very much long after. So we really went all in as a
Interesting.
family.
I grew up in a town, and it's funny how similar our experiences are with you, just off the mountains of Colorado and me in the midst of the prairies of North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a Catholic church and a Lutheran church, and pretty much everybody was Catholic or Lutherans. My family was congregational. We went to the church in town that Grandma had gone to. It turns out it wasn't really a church. I didn't know the good news until I was 25. So
Okay.
they missed the mark in that respect. But like nobody cared if you were Catholic or Lutheran except if you started dating a girl on the opposite team or something like that. Like that was my observation. Like I've always been an observer of people. I wasn't dating because I was 5'1" and with a mullet, but
got to see a picture sometime.
you can. I'll show you one. But that was kind of the rules. Like it was all cool. There was no religious strife or disposition unless the Catholic girl wanted to date the Lutheran boy and vice versa, and then things were weird.
It's true.
Was that way for you too?
Yeah, and our church was very strict on the religious side of things.
So they were like Baptist plus.
Yeah, it was called non-denominational, but more on the Baptist side, I would say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's where the good Texans come from, right?
Right. Yeah.
So your family gets further and further involved. Your brother and sister, rather, right? Too?
Yep, they did. Yeah, older brother, older sister. At that time. Yeah.
And then, so that's why ultimately you went to CCU.
Correct.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's where my nephew goes right now. He's going to finish up. He's been their master flutist for a few years. Isaiah Johnson. He was a piano amazing kid at like 11, and then switched to the flute, and he's been their first chair and he's going to probably cure cancer or something. I don't know.
Man,
he's
good for him.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he's been really enjoying that community, and was just telling my wife that he's going to Sweden in some kind of a exchange kind of thing with some of his friends.
Wow. Man, good for him. The university's changed a lot over the years. We were actually the first graduating class because Colorado Baptist University and Colorado Christian College merged. And so we were freshmen the first year of the merger. So we were technically the first graduating class of Colorado Christian University.
So you're the center on the basketball team, or
more of a forward?
More of a power forward style?
We had 6'7", 6'10" people from Nigeria. Fair. So I was definitely not the tallest.
All right, fair enough.
For sure.
That's where Nigeria is where they make the best basketball players and some of the best Christians, too.
Yeah, they're good.
So your experience there was pretty amazing.
It was.
Did you find a girl there too, or?
I did. Met my current wife right now.
All right.
So we dated as freshmen all the way through and got married when we graduated.
Awesome.
Have 3 kids now. So 26, 24 are our daughters, and our son is 20.
We'll let you zoom in on the family in a moment.
Okay.
So what's your, talk to me about your career trajectory just a little bit. Like you get out of college, you're studying.
Well, when I was in college, I started out as business. The plan was to go back and take over the family business. I went and worked at a sports camp in Branson, Missouri called Camp Kanakuk.
Okay.
And at that camp, I decided, you know what? I want to work with students. And so I went back, changed my major from business to youth ministry.
Oh, wow.
And so the last 3 years of college, I was focused on that. And then that's where the church introduction as far as a staff position began.
Is there a church associated with CCU?
There is not. Multiple churches in the area.
Yeah, yep. And they all
no affiliation.
CCU students.
Of course they do.
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we went to Bear Valley Church when we were down there, and that's when I worked with the youth group and thought, you know what? I think I want to go into this
I've
for
been
a
to
career.
Bear Valley Brewery. I think that's right up the road there.
I think it is up the road.
So you get into ministry right out of the gate.
I did. I worked for Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Okay.
So it came up to Fort Collins. That's what moved us up here.
Okay.
They were opening an office for FCA, is what it was called. And they said, hey, they knew me through college because I was involved as an athlete with FCA.
Yeah.
And so,
That's surprising. So you were the founder, really, of the FCA locally? Not the founder, but the first worker here?
For Northern Colorado. They said, hey, we want you to be our first Northern Colorado director.
That seems really surprising that they wouldn't have taken like a CSU athlete.
I know.
Or something.
I know. And the main reason they started it was there was 200 people going to the Colorado State University FCA huddle.
Oh, dang.
So there was a bunch going, and that's why they wanted to open an office.
Interesting. Well, it's kind of sweet that they already had a captive audience for you.
They definitely did.
So what was that job like?
Oh, it was a dream. I mean, first of all, hats off to my wife. She gave up her dream job at Colorado Christian to follow us up here to Fort Collins, Colorado, and start that. But, just loved it. Worked with all of the Northeastern Colorado, junior high, high school, and college. Summer camps, sports, Estes Park. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Yeah. So, and a guy in his early 20s, newly married, it was a dream.
Didn't make a lot of money, but didn't need a lot of money.
Nope, we
So
were
that's
at
okay.
$22,000 a year. We just joked about this the other day as a newlywed
That
couple
was
moving
my
to Fort
starting
Collins.
pay. I was 22.5 when I started in
Oh
banking.
man, okay.
Yeah.
So bankers make the
Dude,
big
we
bucks.
have like a parallel life
We
except
do.
for like you love God and I'm on the fringes kind of thing.
We could start a brewery
No,
church.
I love God just as
Yeah,
much.
I
Well,
know.
not quite as much. Otherwise, I'd be
You
a little
don't know that.
better. I don't know. Who knows? He loves me more though.
Okay.
Otherwise, my life wouldn't be so blessed despite doing so many dumb things.
So you're protected, is what you're saying.
Right? I got guardian angels,
Yeah,
dude. Don't mess with
more
me.
than I have.
Even though you're bigger. The bourbon's starting to hit just a little bit.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'll give you that.
Oh,
I'm
you
doing
haven't
good.
even. I already almost drank all mine.
Well, I don't officially really know how to do that as well as you do.
I know, but that's what makes it fun when we have podcast guests here. And you're big. You can have a whole bourbon while
Probably
you're in this
right.
podcast. It's fine. Where did we leave off? That squirrel chase.
Oh, going into ministry as far as college, my
Sure.
career
So
trajectory.
FCA,
So FCA,
So
6
you probably
years.
know Aaron Santini pretty
I
well.
do. Yeah, he was a staff person after me. So Aaron Santini is a phenomenal guy and is leading a church here in town, doing
Yeah,
a
that's
great
the church
job.
I go to.
Oh no, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I've been going to for 12 plus years.
Okay.
Him and Daniel Smith have been on. You know Daniel too?
I've met Daniel. Aaron introduced me to Daniel.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and Beck. Do you know Beck from
yeah.
FCA?
Been a long time, but yes, I know the name.
He's with our staff now too.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we
Look
pulled
at
him
you
away from
guys.
our church. We
Look
fixed
at
him.
you guys. Good for you.
Sorry if you're the former church, but you did have some
No.
kind of whacked out views. I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Just kidding.
Well, no.
This
so
is
yeah.
the LoCo experience, man. You got to
That's
be
right.
ready for some non-politically
Spontaneous.
correct conversation here. Yeah.
Understood.
So you're like leading these young guys to both be men and to be athletes and to be Christians, basically. Is that kind of like
Yeah.
the three-legged stool of FCA?
Really, my hot button is potential. And so putting FCA with focused on character as athletes with my hot button of let's push people towards their potential. It was a win-win all the way around. Just because students, junior high, high school, or college, they need that to be kept in front of them. Character
Yeah.
and potential. It's a
Gotta
powerful
do,
1-2
gotta
punch.
do hard things,
I'm telling
and
you.
do it right.
Yep, absolutely.
I dig it. Okay.
Yeah, so 6 years with Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Okay.
And then went into the crazy food industry.
Yeah.
I really did try to find other ministry jobs. Basically, I was going to get transferred to Denver.
Okay.
And my wife and I were like, oh, we don't really want
And
to
is
do
she
the big
working
city.
or is she
Yes.
having kids already or not yet?
Not quite. Not
Okay.
quite. Yeah, she worked at the Hilton here in
Okay.
Fort Collins.
Yep.
She worked with Alpine Manufacturing, the Girl Scouts for the early years of being up here. But
Doing
decided
kind of
we
different
don't.
things, this and that, nothing career really. What
Correct.
was her degree study?
She's English
Administrative
major.
and English, yeah.
Yeah, but she really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom when all
Yeah,
said
yeah.
and done.
So
But yeah,
hurry up and start making enough money so I can do that.
I know, exactly. Exactly. So I tried to find other ministry jobs because we didn't want to move to Denver. We're
Yeah.
like, we don't want to do the city life. So we
Yeah.
decided to stay here. Thought I'd just deliver bagels at night and look for jobs during the day. And that
Okay.
turned into a 6-year
Oh, cool.
career at Gibbs Bagels and loved every minute of it.
Right from there,
It's
yeah.
a highlight for us.
No, I mean, that company grew so much and how they, like, just, I don't know, kind of set a different standard for how a local business can have kind of a multi-location operation and influence. And I don't know, they had a lot of, what was that? There's a gal that maybe came after you that ran it?
Well, Rachel Yendra, her name was
Yes,
Rachel
Zach's
Bradley
Zach's
at the
wife.
time.
Zach, I know Zach
yes.
better than I know Rachel, but I know she's super well respected by a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Well, Kurt, I have
And
to
people
tell
say
you.
she turned it around after Scott left.
That's right. Well, she did, and because I hired her. So it's pretty funny. I hired her as a high school student.
Oh, is that right?
And she's obviously one of the best hires I ever made
Wow.
as a young manager at Gibbs Bagels.
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
stay in touch to this day.
Like, I was so jealous of Zach because he had like a wife that would make enough money so he could screw around and drive school buses around and take kids and do
Yep.
stuff and build awesome bikes and cool things.
He's
and
very
bars,
talented.
and I love his creativity.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a fan.
Well, good. And now they're merged with Spoons. So Spoons and Gibbs are
Oh,
owned
is
by
that
the
right?
same owner. And then Rachel
And
manages
who's the
both
owner
of them.
now?
Mike Howland.
Oh, is that right?
So he's the one who bought
So
Gibbs from Gibb.
Tom sold Spoons.
That's
Tom,
I don't remember his last name.
Yeah, I don't
but
remember
So
either.
Mike bought
Okay.
it. And so now Gibbs and Spoons are under
Oh,
same
interesting.
ownership with Rachel at the helm.
running the whole thing,
Yeah.
pretty much. I hope she's
President.
got a slice of the equity at least. a
I'm
little
not
bit.
sure. Let's ask her.
She should.
Oh,
Like,
man. She works so hard.
Right. Well, she made it what it is in a lot
So
of respects.
hard. Yeah.
And Spoons is a hard business too, but so good. Like I love their model.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
I
why
had
they
no
bought
idea.
in.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's
so
interesting.
small world.
Maybe I'll have a future podcast. Maybe Rachel and Zach should be on.
They'd be great. They would be great.
Zach has a filter similar to mine, I suspect, when we start talking with bourbon.
Okay.
I'm
Which
just
would be
guessing.
What would the filter be?
No filter.
Okay.
Basically. So you kind of helped Gibbs in some ways kind of turn the corner to being a for real awesome business, and then you hired a high schooler that took it over when you went to...
I left from Gibbs and went to Yancey's Food Service. I don't know if you know Greg Yancey.
Well, sure. Well, Greg and Drew have been on, and Drew's my next level 2 facilitator.
Yep. Phenomenal family.
Okay.
And so, again, looked for ministry jobs when I was leaving Gibbs, couldn't find any. And so Yancey's was very generous to say, hey, do you want to come do some street sales for us?
Okay.
So I committed to that. And then after that, I landed at Timberline Church.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what was that job at Timberline like? And had you been searching, try to get back into ministry proper, or
no? I
just
pretty much
curious?
wrote it off. I said, you know what? I think food industry is going to have to be what the career path is. And then the executive pastor at the time reached out to me. His name was Rob Coles.
Oh yeah,
and he said, "Hey,
I like that guy a lot.
Oh man, he's so likable
For sure.
Yeah, he's doing a phenomenal job at Genesis Project now.
Yep.
But he
I
reached
think I
out.
met him first with Sandy Brown
Okay,
from Colorado Christian School.
Oh,
Maybe
no?
not. I might be
Okay.
interlacing two different
Not sure about that.
Anyway, I know Rob has been super involved with the Matthews House and
Yes.
hosting their offices and stuff, and I
Yes.
met him there.
Yep.
But I think that the very first time I met Rob was Sandy from CCU, not CCU. What's the high school here with the flexible kind of thing?
Oh, CEC, Colorado Early College.
Yes.
Okay.
Sandy, who has introduced me to Rob at the Peach Festival
Okay.
forever ago. Anyway,
Yeah.
sometimes, do you do this? Like when you hear a name, do you flash back to the first moment that you met that person?
Absolutely.
Kinda?
Yep. I
Like,
think that's the importance of relationships. Is where did I meet him?
So for me, that was Rob Coles. Even though I've met him 5 other times at mostly Matthews House related things,
Yeah.
like I still flash to that moment at Hughes Stadium when Sandy introduced me.
Wow.
Anyway, I
Yeah. So
digress.
he's the one that met with me and said, "Hey, we have an opening at Timberline Church. What do you
Interesting.
think about getting back into ministry world?"
Oh, because
And
he knew you
so-
from FCA kind of world or something like
Yep.
that.
And I was attending the church at the time, so knew
Sure.
him as one of the
Interesting.
pastors.
Huh.
So there you
Well,
go.
that's a good eye for talent exhibited by Rob, I guess I would say.
Too kind.
Or maybe it was a disaster. I don't know, but you rose up
could
to
ask
the
him.
ranks, so we'll see.
Yeah, well.
So what's it look like to be a pastor? So circa me, by the way, this is like 2014, 15, something like
Yeah,
that?
so I started at Timberline 2006 and then left
Oh,
in
wow.
2021 as far as staff goes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And I kept my credentials when I left and went to work for Sky Corral. So
Wow,
decided
so
that,
15 years
Yeah.
at Timberline.
yep, as far as paid staff. And then we
Yep.
started attending there in 94 as a family.
Yeah.
So it's been our home church for 30 years.
Yeah. What, like, can we talk about the evolution of
Sure.
that? Like, it was, I remember, so I lived here starting in 99, wasn't a Christian yet, met my wife, became a Christian. Eventually, we went to the Meeting Place Church back in 99 with Dwight Bradshaw.
I know the name.
He and his wife were customers at the bank that I went to, and eventually persuaded me, along with my beautiful wife being a Christian already. But then, like, that was the circa, and then I moved away for a few years later. But, like, Timberline was probably just really getting to be a big thing, probably about that time, right?
That's
Like,
correct.
Late 90s.
Yeah, so early 2000s really when they moved
Yeah.
locations off of LeMay,
Oh,
where
yeah.
Ridgeview is currently the
Yes,
school, and
yep.
then they moved over to Timberline
Yes.
Road. It was like
That
an
was the
explosive
And
2,000
it just blew
people.
up. It
blew
became
up.
super. And I'm
Absolutely.
always like, I'm against the trend. So I think I went once, and I was
Okay.
like, nah, I'm not going to go to a big church like this. Sorry.
Understood.
It
Understood.
is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but tell me about that. Like, you were there.
Yeah, we were there as members of
Yeah.
the church, and then to move locations and to see this just explosive, growth was very
Yeah.
interesting, especially being a small town, church guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how am I going to handle this? I
Right.
mean, this is more people than I've been around in a long time. But it was amazing how they handled it. They just stayed focused on the community. They stayed focused on the people, and they said, you know what? We're going to continue to love people where they are.
Why do you think, like, was it the charisma of the pastor at the time? Was it the systems that they developed? Like, was it multiple factors? Like, what really contributed to that
Yeah,
explosive growth?
definitely. I appreciate you asking. Definitely multiple factors, but Pastor Derry Northrup has been,
Yeah.
he's just getting ready to retire after 39 years. of senior
Been a little too long,
leadership
Derry.
at the
No,
church.
just kidding.
He's so excited about retirement.
He's definitely no Joe Biden.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I'm
man.
teasing.
Yeah. So very charismatic.
Yeah, for
Love
sure.
the community.
He's
very
right.
people oriented. So it was that. And then the team that he had around him just were committed to go, let's figure out how we can be a mom and pop church, but in the mega church model.
Yeah.
And somehow they found a unique blend of how to do that. And
That's
people
fair.
just like, you know what? I'm going to keep coming back.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
it.
So that's what it was. And then when I came on staff in 2006, they were kind of after that initial explosive growth. And then I'm more of a, how do we make things better? So it worked out well in my role is to come alongside of them and say, what can I do to help?
Like, how do you measure better as a pastor?
Gosh,
Like, is
that is a
it because we
great
make more
question.
money? Is it because we get more members? Is it because they enjoy it more? How do you know if they enjoy it more?
Yeah. You want a little inside,
Sure.
information?
Yeah, I do. I want to get back there.
Everybody always goes to nickels and noses as success of a church.
Sure.
The money and the number of people that you
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
But any pastor can do the anecdotal story of, well, I met with so-and-so and they turned their life around and then all of a sudden your whole church is a success.
Got 20 of those or 100.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that could be happening, all the time. So you look at retention, how many people are coming back? Is there new growth that's coming into the church? And then how is the back door? How many people are leaving?
Yeah.
So that's really where you look at, the
So
success.
it's kind of the same as LoCo Think Tank,
Correct.
basically.
Yeah, it's really a business model.
Right.
People had the hardest time.
How do
at
you get
Timberline.
people to respond, like, how they like it?
Well, it depends
Just
on who they're
talking
talking to. Yeah, if they're talking to the senior pastor, they're probably not going to say. But
Right.
if they're talking to the operations guy like me,
Right.
they're going to tell you what they like and what they
Interesting.
don't like. So you
Interesting.
definitely had to navigate that
Huh.
because you would hear two sides of the coin.
I just had one of the most interesting. So, this is probably behind the curtain a little bit, but we had a chapter that was struggling, and we made a change in the facilitator position. It had been decreasing in membership.
Within LoCo?
Yeah, within
Okay.
LoCo. And I offered to be the interim facilitator whilst I found the right next facilitator. And like, I'm a good facilitator. BSF, Bible Study Fellowship, taught me how to facilitate,
Okay.
like way back in the day when I was first a Christian and stuff. I'm good at it. And I heard from them, like, we don't really want you here because you're like the LoCo Think Tank guy. And it's hard for us to be authentic and vulnerable while LoCo Think Tank guy is here. And I'm like, dude, my business is 1/4 the size of yours, and I barely make any money. Like, you don't really have to be ashamed.
Yeah.
But like, it's almost like I'm the senior pastor
It's true.
of LoCo Think Tank, and I can't really,
Yeah,
What
that's
interesting.
what I'd say. Pastor Derry, he would say, if I'm going to walk in a room, everybody's head's going to turn to me.
Right.
So why would I walk in the room when I can have you walk in the room and navigate that meeting
Yeah.
just as well or better because people are going to
Love
respond
it.
differently.
That's tremendous leadership, and insight, really, probably for him. What was
Learned
at
a
the
lot.
time, he didn't really know if that was right. It just felt right.
Did.
you know. So okay, well that's so sorry to take that squirrel chase, but I think it's so
think it was
relevant,
worth it.
honestly. Like, and I'm not starting a religion just for those that are listening.
You're not
Neither
going to
did
apply for Derry's job?
Neither did Pastor Derry. He's just continuing the religion. His religion is Jesus is awesome, and mine is peer advisory is useful in different ways.
Yeah, and he would say it's not religion, it's a relationship. If he were sitting here next to me, he's like,
I hate the word religion. That's why we talk about faith,
Yeah.
family, politics here.
yeah, love it.
And so I guess your time at Timberline from 2006 to 2015 was kind of a support and development role, kind of as the church kind of took its next phase in, because it blew up fast to be kind of the power church in Fort Collins, and then what?
Yeah, multiple years of lots of different roles. So I started out in the care area and men's, so funerals, memorials, weddings, all of those things, and then shifted into a supervisory role with other staff, directors, and then the last, what would that be, 2018 to 2021 would have been the senior executive role, which is more operational, side, kind of saying, hey, I hear your vision. How do we get there? And then how do we mobilize the team to go do it?
Huh.
So it really was, I just really felt like I needed to help make things a little bit better.
So you probably had one of the worst jobs during COVID Nation. Not to flash back to
Man.
that time, but
It was challenging. Yeah, not only challenging on the operational side, but we were such a relational church at the time.
Yeah.
How do you navigate all those relationships and everybody's opinions on what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and online services and meeting in person?
Well, not to jump to the punchline by any means, but you're like a country kid from the mountains, and you're like big football player-y guy, and I'm just going to guess that your fear level over this bug wasn't quite as extreme as what you were forced to expect or whatever.
No, we grew up nobody had a snow day. You didn't care about, that. You just went about your business, all of those things. And
that was what I used to say. And it pissed people off a little bit, but I was like, where I'm from, like if there's a virus or a bug, you either get the bug or you don't get the bug. And then you either die or you don't die. And you just keep moving on and you do the things that need to happen. And people thought that was not very funny at all.
No, I get it. I get it. Now, as a leader,
you couldn't say that kind of shit.
No,
like I did.
Because as a leader, I wanted to follow the rules. And then with the county, we have a great relationship, with Larimer County. I wanted to navigate that, well. But I will never forget the visual, Kurt, of our 1,400-seat auditorium being set aside in 2-seaters and 4-seaters and 6-seaters and 8-seaters and trying to guide families to sit 6 feet apart. I will never forget what our auditorium looked like and how that just changed what church felt.
Oh, I'm sure it was gross.
It was unbelievable. Just like and you got crickets.
2,000 people watching from home.
Yep.
Because did you disinvite people, or was there enough fear they just didn't fill up the stands anyway?
It was a combo. We did encourage people to watch online if they could, just for the safety of the people that really wanted to be in person.
Yeah.
So it was just a unique blend that we had to try to figure out.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
A lot of technology development and implementation at that time.
A lot of hires to be able to navigate it.
No offense, but you guys were kind of the fancy church with the super cool band all the time anyway. And so part of the experience was being there with felt like God was right there with you,
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry to.
No. I appreciate
that's
it.
Probably.
It's funny because my town would have fit.
It's an amazing production. It was beautiful the times I've been there.
Yeah, when you have a producer for a service and making sure everything flows
when you got 10,000 members and 4,000 attendees, your budget is a lot bigger than our little church, and so to go from that to here's no community. Barely, right? Mm-hmm. You got 200 people attending with the proper spacing or something instead of 1,300 or whatever,
right?
Or 2,000.
Yep.
Wow.
You want to know what the unique thing was during that whole thing? Is everybody would automatically assume that we suffered, financially.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is there were some blips, of course, but people's generosity during that time.
Well, because everybody got
phenomenal.
Free money. Everybody got tons of free money from the government. Life was easy, and you didn't have to spend gas money anymore.
Right,
$400 a month right off your budget. You just stay home and quilt or something.
Yeah, we were grateful for the generosity for sure.
So I guess from a financial management and stuff, it wasn't that hard. But from an operational standpoint, it's like there's an old Bill Cosby line that. I don't know the secret to success, but the secret to failure is to try to please everybody.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Does that resonate with your experience there?
Boy, it is so true. Yeah. And Pastor Derry would always say, hey, we're going to try something. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to what wasn't working before.
Right. I love it. So, and then kind of because if I remember right, May 2021 was we're going to be free. And then, oh shit, all those vaccines didn't really work, and we clamped back down in September of 21 or something like that. Is that true?
I don't remember the specific dates.
I think it did.
But when I started at Sky Corral in May of 21, we were still navigating some of that.
Yeah, and then it kind of freed up for that summer and then locked back down again.
Right. No, seriously, we had to say to people, if you're not of the same family, you might have to sleep in a mask. And we looked at each other and went, how can we enforce that?
Right. Well, I had members leave LoCo Think Tank because we didn't have a policy on how we were going to require it. And I was like, well, it seems like I should have just said it, I guess, restaurant rules. Because we bought bigger rooms, we found bigger rooms so people could still meet in person because they wanted to and stuff. But it was well, do I have to wear the mask the whole time? What if I'm eating? Okay, if I put a sandwich by me, am I always eating?
Right.
What if I just put some nuts in a plate by me just in case I might want to eat? Mm-hmm. Can I not wear my mask now? Yep. Anyway, I digress.
Glad we're on the other side.
Please, don't go back.
No.
I feel like it's a good time for a break.
Okay.
Hi, this is Clint Jasperson, Managing Partner at Purpose Driven Wealth. We believe financial clarity leads to a life of contentment and purpose. Our mission is to guide clients through the complexities of wealth management, retirement planning, and legacy using a values-driven, stewardship-based approach focused on provision, contentment, and enjoyment. With more than a century of expertise through Thrivent, we offer tailored strategies to help individuals and families achieve their goals and embrace generosity. Whether you're navigating a life or business transition or planning for the future, we're here to partner with you every step of the way. To learn more about Purpose Driven Wealth, call 970-330-7411.
Well, so we got faith, family, politics is our mandatory segments.
Okay.
Do you have a preference on where you would start?
Probably family. Yeah, that's an easy one for me.
Talk to me about your family. So this little gal that followed you up into this crappy job in Fort Collins was whom again?
Christina Seiler was her
Christina.
maiden name. Yes, and met our freshman year at Colorado Christian. Just met our freshman year, and it was
where was she from?
She's from Boulder.
Okay.
Born in Iowa, but she was a Boulder high school girl.
So she was an outcast in her community as well, being Christian.
Everybody always talked about, wait, you're a Christian and you're from Boulder?
Right.
So she had to answer that question I don't know how many times. But yeah, freshman year we met and just dated all the way through. It was a great time to get to know her. And me being a small town boy, it was like, wow, somebody from a
This
big
girl
city.
likes me.
Right. Somebody can see
and
me.
Why? What would she say that she saw in you? Other than the fact that you were like on the basketball team or whatever.
Yeah, and she could have cared less about that. That was the interesting
That's
part.
good.
I just, being a gentleman, being kind, all of that.
Yeah.
So it had to be something because it wasn't my clothes. Coming from a small town, man. The fashion was
Flannel
not.
or flannel.
You know it. Absolutely. You're calling it right there. Yeah, we always talk about that. But yeah, so met our freshman year and then dated all the way through.
And what you liked about her was that she seemed to like you?
No. I mean, she was a bombshell. I was just like very drawn to her, but it was really her personality. She was very just outgoing and just so interactive. And that's just somebody I hadn't been around in a long time.
Yeah.
And so that just, jumped right out at me.
Well, and that kind of personality doesn't really blossom as much in small town environments.
No.
Like they're usually shushed down.
Correct.
By the peer pressure of not being like a butterfly or whatever, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely different than I'd ever experienced before.
Yeah.
I didn't date a lot in high school, so this was going to be my first, major,
Your first real
dating
girlfriend?
experience. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so yeah, I learned a lot through that, and we just kept getting to know each other.
Okay.
And she made me laugh, and she was so creative and adventurous, and I just needed that. We felt like we were a really good blend for each other.
I dig it. How did you get engaged soon, or did you go all the way through college?
All the way through college.
It wasn't really culturally normal to.
We talked about it. We talked about getting engaged in college, and we said, why would we do that? We don't only get to do this once,
Right.
so let's finish college.
Plus,
and
her
then get
dad was
married
still paying
afterwards.
for college.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't certain if he married her first.
and great family. So
Yeah.
it's funny. We got engaged fall of our senior year, and then got married after we graduated college.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was her family up to? Like being in Boulder and stuff. Like, where did she have siblings as well and whatnot?
She did. Yeah, she did. So older brother, older sister, and then herself. The unique part of that story is all three of them are adopted. My mother-in-law, current mother-in-law that I know, had cancer as an early teenager.
Oh, wow.
So she couldn't have kids. So her parents adopted her.
Okay.
All three of them. So that's a pretty unique story.
Domestic adoptions, nothing
Yep,
overseas?
all domestic.
Yep.
Yep. Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And that's where she came to CCU from, was Iowa?
Nope. So they kind of
Also
born and
moved.
raised. Yeah, and then but Boulder
Moved
was
to Boulder. Yeah, you told me that
Boulder High
already.
School and all of that. And
All
then
the things.
came to Colorado Christian.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you have children?
We do. So 2 daughters, Reagan, who's 26,
Okay.
Whitney, who's 24. They live in Loveland.
Okay.
They're roomies,
All
which
right.
is great. It's fun having them close.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
our son is Tennyson. He's 20, junior at Grand Canyon
So
University
you
in
got like a
Phoenix.
fresh empty nest, kind of.
We are figuring that out. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kurt, it is definitely different. We're enjoying it. Lots of flexibility.
Yeah.
We soak up the time when everybody's home, but then we definitely enjoy the time when everybody's
And
out.
no grandkids or
Nope.
any hints of that with your girls are roommates, so
right. Yep. One of them's dating, the other one is not at the current time, and then so nothing on the horizon right now.
Would you like to do the one-word description challenge for your children?
Oh man, go for it. You mean give one word to each
word
one of them?
for each one of them? Yeah, you've given them names and ages, but if you wanted to come back with a word for them,
yeah, absolutely. Reagan, our oldest, positive would be the one.
Was she named after Ronald Reagan?
No, she was not.
Okay.
My wife
Just
being an
curious.
English major,
All right.
Reagan, all the stuff in literature and things, so that's where that name
fair
came
enough.
from.
I was thinking maybe it was about that time, though, wasn't it? No, wait. No, it's way after Reagan. Holy crap, we're so old.
We are old.
Shit.
We might want to edit that out.
It was 40 years ago was when Reagan was around.
Yeah. And then, Whitney would be caring. Very, very much caring.
I dig it.
And then Tennyson would be entrepreneur.
Tennyson is also English kind of a name, right?
It is. That is spelled with a Y. His is spelled with an I.
Yeah.
But if you're okay with it, I mean, his name comes from a University of Colorado football player named Tennyson, was a tight end at the University of Colorado, and we met him through Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Oh, wow.
We're like, if we ever have a boy, we really like that name, Tennyson.
I like that.
And so 2 girls later, we had our boy, and we said, we like that name.
Okay,
Let's go with
we're
it.
Done. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a boy.
Yeah. So they're so fun.
That's got to be an interesting time right now because, like, right now is where the rubber hits the road a little bit in adulting, right, for them. And you can't put a firm hand on there, but you can always be an encourager. And, like, it's just, the next 10 years, you're going to see how things play out.
Yes.
Who the girls choose to be their husbands, if they do.
Correct.
And all that.
Yeah, it's very unique. So to say, hey, I'm going to be available, but watch them adult is very, very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can come stay up at the ranch whenever you want.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. The oldest is a 4th grade teacher at Rice Elementary. So she's in the education world right now.
All right.
And then Whitney is at Good Samaritan in Loveland.
Oh, yeah.
Activities director. And keeping people moving and all the activities there.
What's her last? Is Kissel
Whitney
too?
Kissel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually went and spoke to a group of guys down at the Good Samaritans down in Windsor
No way.
about like entrepreneurship or something. I'm guessing the previous person that had the program director job was
Maybe. That's Windsor. She's in Loveland.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so
gotcha.
2 different locations.
So anyway,
that's
one of
probably
her
where,
peers, I guess. Yeah, somebody
Probably.
was like, "Hey, would you like to come and talk to like 25 old dudes about LoCo Think Tank?" And I was like, "Sure, I guess. Why not?
Yeah.
We can talk about the podcast too."
And I bet they enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. One of them was supposed to actually refer me to his son, who's a CEO of a local business, but I guess he slacked on it. So, sir, if you're listening, you didn't follow up like I asked you to.
Yeah. But I would say the greatest joy of watching them do adulting, Kurt, is just seeing them make their decisions, on their own. Mm-hmm. And to watch them do that has been pretty fun.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Okay, I dig it.
Very proud of them.
I'm going to say Scotch-Irish.
You talking about our name?
Yeah, your family.
Man, see, you're going to hit a spot I don't know much about it.
No?
So
Kissel sounds like more of a British name, but usually the British names are because the British, raped some Scotch-Irish girl or whatever, because that's how they got the big ones, because the Brits weren't big.
Okay.
It was the Scotches and the Irish that were, the big people, plus the Danes and the... So, but Kissel seems like an English name to me.
Yeah.
You don't know that?
No, Mom, I know you're listening to this probably 5 times, so you can tell me where that's from.
Okay.
Yeah, we just weren't big into that, so I'm not necessarily sure.
Factor.
I know the Kissel car. I get comments all the time about the brand Kissel car. So
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, you have to.
Where's it from?
Don't even know. I should have never brought it up. Octopus. Get this out of here.
We're not getting that out of there. We're keeping this. I'm just surprised at the lack of curiosity, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I just have never been like, what kind of name do we have and where are we from?
I don't know. And it's kind of because I've actually had people look at me like, why are you asking me this? Especially if it's like an Asian name or something. I'm like, well, because I want to know if this is a Filipino name, is it a Korean name, is it a Japanese name? I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah.
But as like a old white guy, people are like, well, why do you want to know? Especially in MAGA days, right? But anyway, that would be my suspicion, especially with a Catholic background and just being big. Like the Brits weren't very big. Like they're like little King Charles size people and stuff like that. The aristocracy didn't need to be tough.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, my dad was 6'3", and my mom, Kurt, was 5'4". So there you go. Really tall.
My wife is 4'11", and I'm 6'3".
What? Okay, there you go.
But that's part of my listeners will be like annoyed, but I was 5'1" at the end of my sophomore year. And then I grew 6 inches a year my junior, senior as high school, and like got to college at like 6'2", 130 with a mullet.
Yep. With your original parts?
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference between me and you is like you were like a stud muffin and I was like a dorkopotamus kind of.
Oh, man.
Yeah, whatever. At least I'm better looking than you now.
Agree.
So I think we kind of fished out the family tree. You just don't really know that much.
I really
don't have grandkids yet. So you got dogs or chickens or anything that are really close to you?
Yeah, we're a big-time dog family. Currently have a Woodle, which, everybody gets tired of hearing.
A Wheatland?
No, a Wheaton and a Poodle.
Wheaton Terrier.
Called a Woodle. Yeah.
That's probably pretty solid. I've got a Schnauzer mix.
Okay.
A Schnauzer Cocker.
Okay, yeah.
So that's probably 30, 40 pounder.
38.
Okay.
Right in there somewhere.
Yeah,
Yep. We had a sheepdog, was our first one, so just a big, hairy, dog. We loved that, but then we got into the Wheaton mix.
Yeah, it's nice having non-shedding dogs.
100%.
Yeah, Jill wants like a Bernese Mountain Dog next. I'm like, maybe a Bernedoodle,
right?
But definitely not a Bernese. Like, no way.
May as well go to the St. Bernard route and have the jowls and the drips too
on
top of the hair.
I don't want none of that. I don't want no slobber. I don't want no hair. Really.
Yeah.
So. Faith or politics next?
Oh, yeah, faith, for sure.
So talk to me about what was the 65-year-old lady that started taking you to church, and I guess part of my question is why were they okay with it? Like that's a really interesting scenario.
Everybody asked me that, and it didn't happen right away. So definitely she started coming in to do the shopping. She got to know us. My mom was the cashier and I was the bagger, putting the groceries in the bag.
Yeah.
Just got to know sweet old Edie. And she started just to ask.
Enjoyed your company.
Yeah, and they said no. They originally said no for quite a few weeks. And then I don't know if it was the next summer or if it was just later that summer.
Yeah.
I said, what's it going to hurt?
Right.
Come get him, bring him home, do your shopping, and then you can head out and we'll see you next week. And it just worked out.
Huh.
So that's where, that began. And
did you, you fell into it pretty strong, sounds like? You were like one of the big cheerleaders around and whatever. Like when the question was whatever, you were the first one to say Jesus.
I was more of an Edie fan than I was a Jesus fan, I think. I wanted to hang out with Edie. Uh-huh. She was just one of those loving ladies that just had great stories.
She modeled it for you.
Yeah, and then she'd invite me up to her cabin, and I would tube down the river, and she'd make me sandwiches, and it was just like a kid's dream.
Two of you? Like you would hang out with this old lady?
Totally.
Nothing weird, though.
No. No. Sorry. Family cabin. It's all, I know. Well, this day and age, you wouldn't know.
Right. You'd be like, that lady is crazy.
Back then in a small town, it's just, that's what you do.
What a lovely
everybody
thing.
knows
and
everybody.
She was probably so lonely.
For sure.
In some ways. She didn't have like a family?
She did. They would come up occasionally in the summer.
Okay.
So they're from Texas. And so it just depends on when her time. She
stayed
all summer.
More time. Yeah.
People would come and go. So her family would come and go. But I was like
a beautiful thing.
I think an added, grandson, if you will.
Right. What a beautiful relationship. I think that's what it's so interesting, in this world that's evolved since then, everything is cool. You can be whoever you want to be. You can call yourself whatever gender you want. You can be in a relationship with whoever you want. But stuff like that isn't cool. It's weird, but it's beautiful.
Right.
To hear about it here 20 years later, or even to think about it happening today. And what a beautiful thing for a elderly person to have probably a brighter than average 6 or 8 year old kid to just hang out with and talk with as they expand their knowledge of the world. And, she fed you and you fed her with probably so much.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
and I think part of it was, as a family business, most people that have family businesses know it's a lot of work. So I think part of it for her was, does he ever get outside of the store at all?
Oh, wow.
Because if mom and dad are always in the store every time it opens and closes, what's he doing during the day? I think part of it was, hey, can I help, Scott's parents out by just getting them outside and letting them hang out and be a kid?
How was your, family income level? Could you go out to restaurants? Could you ever travel or do things?
We would do one vacation a year typically.
Okay.
Not a whole lot of out to eat. I would
Yeah.
say our family really focused on, the things to enjoy experiences.
Yeah.
Snowmobiles,
Fishing.
getting a raft, making sure that whatever we did as a family, we could do it on the weekend and whenever the store was closed.
Yeah.
That was definitely,
and whenever
that's where
there
the
was that
focal point
opportunity, then it was like,
took it.
get it.
Yep, you took it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing about a retail store like that is, like, every dollar that you pull out of that business is like $1 less than you can have in inventory, which is like $1 less than the store can make down the road, kind of thing, right? Like, you're probably familiar with that notion. Different than a church, you could just fill the pews a little more and you get more money, kind of thing.
Yeah, my brother was the butcher, sister was the bookkeeper,
Wow.
so you just kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I was the sneaky little kid that would accidentally cut the wrappers of a Snickers when I'm opening the box.
Oh,
ripped.
damn! I guess I'm gonna have to eat this.
Gonna have to eat this one. Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
Any times of doubt in your faith journey, or times of real challenge for you?
For sure. I think, one of the times was when I left the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and then could not find another ministry job. I thought, what's my purpose? If I can't go back into full-time ministry, where do I land in this whole, ordeal? And then as I got into the food industry, a couple years into there, I was really struggling. My wife would look at me and say, you know what? You are in ministry. You're around people that don't know anything about church every single day, more than you ever have in all your other jobs.
Yeah.
So kind of like suck it up, figure out how to interact with people and not start, don't keep complaining about not being in full-time ministry.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment where I said, okay, I'm all in at Gibb's Bagels and I'm going to do the job that I know I can do. And I'm going to have a good time hanging out with these people that don't know much about church at all.
And then did that advance kind of the cause at Gibbs? We kind of flash forwarded past that chapter, but it seems like there was probably a lot more there than I gave credit to.
Yeah, Gibb at the time, Gibb who owned it, he would call me, pastor on the call.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, I'm kind of the traveling pastor for Gibbs Bagels, and so I've officiated some weddings.
Was he a man of faith also?
Minimally, and then as we got to know each other, he really grew in his faith and was just peppering me with questions all the time. His favorite was, hey, Scott, you got time? Let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
And we'd go for a walk around the bagel store, and typically a spiritual question would pop up. So some of my favorite memories there,
For sure. Politics.
Oh, boy.
You are well-versed, it sounds like, in politics.
Pretty much not versed at all. I think it's partly from my upbringing. Never talked about politics. It was never a discussion as far as, voting or anything like that, or
really,
things
like,
going on.
It was
in
kind
the
of one of those kind
world.
of church kind of things. You just kind of live with the world that evolves. It's God's will, and so don't you question it. Kind of thing.
I never remember one instance of my parents saying, hey, let's talk about leadership in our country.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, we're in a super weird time right now. Like, for listeners, we're February 4th. Like, Doge has been, like, dumping the USAID files on the countertop saying, here's all the dumb shit we're paying for, and there's a bunch of protests and we're disimmigrating quite a few thousands of people, some of which have criminal records, some of which don't. Like, are you familiar with any of those kind of hot button topics right now?
A little bit,
Yeah.
yes. And
Just enough.
Yeah, just enough.
And
We watch the 10 o'clock news for 30 minutes, and that's literally my interaction with it. Mostly. Except for a few notifications on my phone.
Don't watch the news. Just kidding. Well, to be frank, it's been a more interesting season in politics. I'm the libertarian guy that just like I voted for Kanye last election and Gary Johnson the time before that, but I did vote for Trump in 2024, and now he's in, and like shit's going down. Like, I don't know if there's a lot of stuff happening, massive.
I do understand that.
Anti-immigration stuff, and like Alma's from a local Hispanic church, and so she literally knows a few dozen people that feel like they are at risk of being deported, even though they haven't broken any laws here necessarily, but they haven't gotten their shit together with their immigration either. And so I'm brushed up against with that, and just there's tons of federal funding to arts organizations and nonprofits, and like the city of Fort Collins has had its staff for their economic development department grow from 5 to 12 in the last few years, mostly due to federal funding of unknown utility. And so there's like all this cuts potentially coming because Elon Musk and his AI-powered investigative machine is like looking at how the government's been spending our money for the last 20 years, and it looks like it's terrible. Anyway, so I brought you up to speed.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Thanks for the political upgrade.
So I guess, like, in your role, like, I guess, let's go here. Like, is Sky Corral Ranch a faith organization?
It is, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
our core values are operate on Christian principles, love your neighbor, and build genuine relationships.
Okay.
So with the first one being the Christian principles side.
Yeah. So, like,
Not exclusive. I mean,
Yeah.
people would say, well, faith-friendly, because anybody can book Sky Corral. It doesn't have to be faith-based.
Could I have my lesbian wedding there?
No, we don't do weddings.
So let me think about politics that I can.
I know, you're wondering, where can you go with this guy?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, where can I go to get some interesting stuff? I guess let's talk about like the climate of the world, because simplistically put, we had like a president that was barely there the last few years. I'm not going to get into January 6th, whether that was good or bad or whatever. You know, it's settled history at this point, kind of thing. But like an interesting thing is that if it wouldn't have been for the 2020 election, Trump wouldn't have nearly as much horsepower now. Like, and now he's got he's got the popular vote, he's got the House, the Senate momentum, and it's really challenging kind of the deep state of America as it is. Is that good, or is he dangerous, or both?
Yeah, and see, I don't know how you want to go about this, because I don't really
know.
Because the two things that I always believe in, if you're going to talk about politics with me, is one is I don't envy anybody in politics, regardless
Right.
of party, because they have an incredibly
Miserable
difficult job. Two, when it comes to Scripture, we're encouraged to support and pray for anybody in authority. So regardless of who I vote for, whoever wins, whoever loses, as a believer, I am still called to pray for those in authority. I may not agree with them, but I do have to pray for them and support them. It doesn't mean I have to agree. Okay. So I will say that I can engage in that part of it, because, we're called to love people.
But if you don't know what they're doing, how do you know how to pray for them properly?
I know. It says in Romans 8:26 that, the Holy Spirit is covering our gaps, covers us in our weaknesses. So when we pray, I may not know how to pray for politician A, but I can say, will you be with that person that's in authority? Because I have no idea what's on their plate. I have no idea who's around them. I have no idea who's chiming in their ear to go about this a certain direction, but will you give them wisdom in whatever decisions, they're making?
All right.
So I can, go down that road on those two things for sure.
That's fair.
So
That's fair.
regardless of political party, man, we got to love people. We got to love them well, and we have to pray for whoever's in authority.
So can we take it more to the politics of our times instead of specific people?
Sure.
Like,
well, let me ask you this, Kurt, first.
Please.
Give me a definition of politics. Since I'm not highly versed in it, and I don't engage with it all the time, tell me where you're coming from as far as politics goes.
One, this is a interesting caveat or angle to come from, but like in a leadership Fort Collins conversation I was in, I put forward the theory to they had the head of the school counselors for Poodle School District there, and the girls transing themselves and saying they're boys kind of thing was at peak fervor at that point in time. And I shared with them that I feel like the thing I'm concerned about, and one of the factors of this could be that climate change has convinced girls that creating a baby is like a bad thing. Like, this baby that you create is just going to like make more carbon and like make the world a worse place, kind of, in a way. Where being a woman has always kind of sucked, because you got to go through your monthly cycle. You're weaker than men. You're subject to their potential physical domination and things like that. And it's all worth it because you can make babies. But if babies aren't valued, then that sucks. And so that's politics to me.
Gotcha.
That climate change narrative about, are babies valuable? Are they a scourge on the earth? Right? And how does those deeper cultural issues influence actual trends in politics and government and how we go about things. Like I've met people that are very legitimately confused about their gender. And like with this Trump administration, they kind of got rid of the T and the Q kind of thing. Like we're not doing that anymore. We're no he, her, she, him, stuff like that. Like that's harsh. And for people that are legitimately confused or struggling, that's very harsh, right? But it's also kind of true, right? For the most part, most of us are a boy or we're a girl, and we should decide and be the best boy or girl we should be. So to me, those are political issues, even though they're actually science issues in a way, but it's cultural, political.
Right, because of where the decisions are being made.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't view it as political. I view it really more relational, and scientific for sure.
Right. Well, and cultural as well. Like, how has that been navigating that both as a pastor and as a person raising daughters?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely interesting conversations in church leadership, these days, regardless of what church, people are attending, to have those discussions, as far as child dedications, weddings, things like that.
Right.
We always go back to what the Bible says. And, biblically, it talks about, marriage was between a man and a woman. I mean, God only created, two, genders. Is there confusion in the world? Of course. There is confusion. There's confusion, not just gender, confusion about,
everything else too.
Purpose, family, relational, career, all those things. So it's not all just, gender.
Totally.
I think where our world is politically, as far as what you're talking about, is there's just confusion overall. And there's just a lot of noise,
right?
A lot of noise happening in our world, and a lot of selfish, what's the word, entitled things in our culture right now is a very entitled culture for the most part. I mean, I'm not saying 100%. It's 100% all the way, but I don't go through a day without running into somebody that is, entitled.
Right.
It's pretty much, a more common occurrence, these days. So I'm trying to work through that myself as an individual and as a leader of a nonprofit.
Well, and how do you curb
and as a family
entitlement? How do you shift that to some other like humility or gratitude or those kinds of things, because that's more better.
Right, yeah. So to interact with somebody that might come across as entitled, you can't tell them you're entitled.
Right.
It's not going to go well. Or to talk to my kids, they're adults now, but to say, hey, let's talk through, this whole ego, entitlement, everything is mine, kind of a thing. We need to talk about that. We don't want to be that as a family.
So I think this is slightly off topic, but I think the first time you really ate humble pie ultimately was kind of after that FCA job. You'd kind of been a star. You got the gorgeous wife early on. You came from this small town, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I guess I got to work at the freaking bagel shop.
Yep.
Was that good for you?
Oh, yeah. At the time, I would have not said that.
Right.
I would have said, what is wrong with places not hiring me? But
Yeah.
now, absolutely, it was good for
Right.
me. I mean, Kurt, the moment I have in my mind vividly is getting my 5th rejection letter from the same organization when I've applied for multiple jobs. And I just threw it, I wadded it up, threw it on the floor and said, what the hell, Lord?
What's wrong with them?
What is wrong? And it was like instantly in that moment, it was like entitlement kind of broke a little bit. It was, I felt this, Scott Kissel can't always get what Scott Kissel wants. Because you're ultimately not in charge.
Yeah.
And I just went for a drive. Being honest, I bawled my eyes out and went, you're right. I thought I was the cat's meow, and I guess I'm not. Where should I work, and where do I give it my all?
Right.
And I'll go back to doing bagels tomorrow.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's an important moment. I think I've barely met anybody that didn't have a moment like that along the way that actually achieved great things.
Well,
so thanks.
And I do reflect back on it quite a bit.
And I hope you keep doing great things.
Well, thank
Are you ready for the ping pong ball?
Oh man,
grab?
yeah. I told somebody earlier today I'm a little nervous about this.
Well, yeah,
when you say, I think you said interesting and awkward, or did you say intimate and awkward?
No, we're not going to get intimate here.
Okay,
You're a pastor. Come on. I can try to make you blush or cry, but I'm not going to get into your bedroom.
All right, great.
Grab 3 balls.
Okay.
And we have some special prizes, actually. Scott brought some breeze through car wash cards, and he brought some Ferris wheel ride cards at Shields, and we'll do some social media postings. So follow us on both the LoCo Experience on Instagram and on LinkedIn if you want to get a chance at some of these prizes. So 22.
22 is the first one.
22. Let's see if I can read this. Oh, I like this one. I actually made this one up. Me and Ava worked on this project. If you could live anywhere for 3 months a year, where would it be?
Oh, no brainer. Switzerland. It has been on my list to live in the Alps and 3 months would be perfect. Because I would pick, the height of the best skiing time and have a ski in and ski out residence of some kind in the Swiss Alps.
Just got to get the Sky Corral Ranch built up a little bit so you
just
can
a little
afford that
bit.
lifestyle.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Right.
Or meet somebody that can.
Well, yeah, you're not talking like a friend, right? Like
Correct.
you're already married, because
Right.
Okay, good. Just making sure you're not fishing for some rich Swiss
No,
girl that can
nope,
bring you up there.
Not at all. A really good friend.
I would actually try to talk my wife into that. Be like, babe, it's just 3 months. I can just go up there. It'll be fine.
No, I'm not going to.
I'm just kidding, Jill. Just kidding. 20.
20.
What's your go-to excuse when you want to get out of plans?
Oh, man, that is a good one, Kurt.
Like if one of your church members wants to meet with you, you just really don't want to.
Oh, man, I was taught at such a young,
So
early
from life
age
group.
to literally say the generic comment of, and see, I'm outing myself. So now when I use this, somebody's going to say, that's just your excuse.
That's awesome.
I can't. I have a previous engagement.
Oh, yeah.
And that previous engagement or commitment could be, I'm watching
wanna
a
sit on
football
the
game at
couch.
home. I'm going to hang out with my wife.
Right.
I
just don't
engagement
really
is
wanna
a
hang out with
broad
you.
term, right? But that is my go-to is,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't.
All right.
I have a previous
Yeah,
engagement.
a previous commitment, I say, actually.
Correct. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one too. Good one.
Okay. Number 6. If you could only eat... Oh, we just had this last podcast.
Did you?
It
Do I need to
happened
take
again.
another one?
No, it's okay. We'll start
Okay.
the balls better
All
next
right,
time. It's a
all
good
right.
question.
Okay.
If you could only eat one color of food for the rest of your life, what color food would you choose?
Oh, well, my favorite color is red, and it also goes with marinara sauce on a
Right.
pizza. So
Steak.
anything red,
steak,
absolutely.
tomatoes,
Ribeye, you name it.
cherries,
Red, red,
strawberries, raspberries.
Red. Yep.
Yeah, I don't... Ava, I don't think anybody else is going to choose any other color than red.
Is that what it's been? What was
So
last
far,
week?
There's only 2 so far, but yeah, they both
Red.
red. I can't think of any other, like, what I'm going to choose. Brown, I guess, maybe.
Brown food good is what
Brown
they say.
food, good, yeah, I guess, but I don't know. Probably
Green?
won't happen.
People got to say green for veggies.
I know, but if there was green meat,
Oh,
if
gosh.
there existed any kind of good green meat, yes, but there is no green meat, so that means I can never eat meat again, so fuck it, I'm choosing red.
Man.
my
No, but growing
language.
up in a grocery store, we always got all the expired stuff at our house.
Oh, right.
So I definitely had some green meat, Kurt.
Right. Just trim that shit off. It's good.
Can't go to waste. Take it home.
Dude, as a food trucker, because
Oh.
I was doing that for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would have like a gallon of extra like pulled pork. Like it had a 1 week expiration, but do you think I could eat that more than 1 time or 2 times?
You can only do so
Rarely.
much with it.
Or cilantro lime coleslaw. That stuff is amazing. I can eat a ton of that stuff, but not 4 times a week.
Heard.
So that was interesting. How much of your diet do you think was near expiration food when you were growing up?
Easily 80%. Easily.
Love it. That's
No, the
awesome.
joke in our house is what's expired in the fridge, and then hey Scott, will you smell this? Is it expired? I'm like, well, the date doesn't matter. Let me smell
Right.
it.
Totally. I'm in the same ballpark with you.
Why would I throw it away if it's
And
not?
I'm like, we have an exchange student now, my wife and I. We
Oh,
don't
no
have
way.
kids. Yeah, we don't. We haven't had any kids, but we have. Lenny's our 12th exchange student.
From
And
where?
he's from Finland.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been pretty fun. And I'm ready for him to leave in a few months. It's cool,
Yeah.
I don't want any real kids. Well, if I had one, it would be cool. Like,
Yeah.
Jill, if you hear this, like, if you get pregnant, we're having it. Even though you're 44, we're gonna try. But anyway, I digress. But I'm like, dude, when you see things that are getting kind of tired, like, eat that. But nobody else does except for me because like there's a Cliff Bar right there, and some strawberries and some blueberries and all the other things that aren't in danger of expiring. But I'm like, well, if I don't eat it, the
Nobody
chickens are
else
going to
eat
get it, you know. And I'd rather.
Man, we
somebody
really are
eat it.
similar in a lot
we
of ways.
really are. So,
You should have mentioned the winner. Which question was the winner?
oh, which question is winner? Which of those questions did you like? We're not going to choose the color red.
No, definitely has got to be, if I could go somewhere for 3 months, that's got to be the winning
Yeah,
one.
Switzerland.
For
Okay.
sure.
So if you're listening to this podcast, that's going to be the answer. But you're going to have to go to Instagram or LinkedIn or someplace to find the actual post where we share, like DM us. And if you're the first one, you get the answer. And then the LoCo experience. That's our final segment.
Okay.
Your craziest experience of your lifetime that you're willing to share with our listeners.
Man. Well, the very first thing that comes to my mind is trying to get bagels sold to the airline industry.
Oh,
So being a small mom
I
and
didn't know
pop,
Gibbs ever did that.
that was kind of during the boom of when Gibbs really took off as the
Okay.
wholesale business just shot through the roof. So I'm going to give a little sales secret. It was
Okay.
you follow other bagel trucks around to see where they deliver.
Okay.
And so as a salesperson for Gibbs, I did that, and I found that they went down to the airlines, and so we're like, well, we got to get our bagels on the airline.
Right.
Took a long time to finally get an appointment, would drop off samples all the time, say, hey,
Oh, wow.
drop them off. Couldn't get anybody to call me back.
All your experience with Yancey's was probably, or was that pre?
It was pre. Gibbs was pre-Yancey's.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so totally
Because your
was different.
persistence in that probably got you the job at Yancey's in a way.
No, it really was. And Gibbs said he would switch the business to Yancey's if they hired me. So it was a no-brainer.
I like it.
But anyway, we finally got a meeting. Gib went with me, and they said, we don't need bagels, but we could use some breadsticks. Do you guys do breadsticks? And before I got no out of my mouth, Gib said, yes, we do breadsticks. And
Go
they
get the best breadsticks.
yeah, how many flavors do you need, and when can we bring samples down? And they said, well, we need 4,000 a day, and we're looking for rosemary. He goes, great, we'll bring some samples down next week.
Oh, wow.
We go out into the elevator in the lobby. The door closes. He looks over at me. He goes, how the hell are we going to do this? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. You
need to
sold
figure
her
out how to make
breadsticks.
breadsticks.
And so we went back to the bagel shop, and probably can't tell you the rest of the story. But no, we basically cut a bagel in half, stretched it out, same bagel dough, same recipe.
Really?
Bought a different
You
oven.
got like a rolling oven
steamed them,
instead.
and took them down.
In a
and
week.
They bought them. So we did breadsticks, cookies, marinara sauce for the breadsticks. The last product the airline
dang.
took was the bagel.
What was the bend to the revenue line from that?
Oh my gosh! I mean, it was in the range of 20,000 a month. Influx instantly.
Right. Which
Yeah.
was 20% or something.
Yeah, I don't remember the percentage. It's
Something, but a
been-
big chunk.
Yeah, way too long ago. But that
Right,
was,
and no employees, just dough and delivery.
yeah, trying to figure out how to get those things
Execute
down
it.
there. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So anyway, we joke
Interesting.
about that one all the time.
You still friends with Gibb, or is
Oh
he
yeah,
still around?
yeah. We text, probably at least every other month or so, and he's in Florida.
I dig it.
Yeah. Love you, Gibb.
Last things you want to share with the people that are wondering what more to know about Scott?
Man, I
I
would,
guess if you're going to go to check out Sky Corral Ranch up at the website, it's
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, Sky Corral.
Yeah, skycorral.org.
Okay,
And,
skycorral.org.
Yep, and we believe something happens in the pause. Get up there.
Oh, yeah.
Slow your pace down. Just
Did I
something
tell you that?
happens in the pause.
Did your gal that called me about featuring us in the newsletter talk to you about my conversation with her?
No, I just saw it in the actual
Yeah.
newsletter.
Oh, dude, it was so much more interesting than that.
Really?
Because I totally didn't get back to her for quite a while,
Okay.
and then it was getting close to the time, and I was like, "Oh shoot!" So she called me, and I was in St. Lucia, I think, maybe, or I was on vacation, or maybe not. Maybe I came back, but anyway, that was part of why I missed it. But she asked me for a powerful moment that was significant during our next little summit up there, and I said, well, probably the coolest moment is when Max Anderson was talking about, he had a set of 4 or 5 different ways to really scale an acquired business, because he's kind of built a group of kind of pre-middle market size companies that he's put together, and he was our speaker up there. And during the first, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes in, he was like, if anybody wants to take a quick break and look at the mama bear and 2 baby bears walking across the valley over there, now would be a good time. And so we literally paused, and that's the language I used. So like the speaker paused the presentation and said, everybody go over to the window and look, and here's this mama and 2 babies. And then came back, and then your gal who called me was like, well, that's so crazy because the power of the pause is actually the theme of our newsletter here. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, I'm Kurt Bear, so you can quote me on that. I know the power of pause.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and if we could apply that in our lives outside of Sky Corral, if we can just have some more pause moments as a society, as individuals and leaders, we'll do a lot better.
I dig it. It's an important thing, and I'm glad you get the pauses and provide the pauses that you need.
Well, thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Bye for now.
Bye.